Well, hello! In this lesson, we're going to be learning about a very important computer science concept called iteration. Iteration is when you do something over and over again, all right? So you're just going to keep doing the same action over and over again, or like executing the same block of code. Now, to do iteration, we're going to have to learn about something called a for loop, all right? And I'll be showing you with this first example here where it says make a loop that prints the numbers 1 through 5, all right? So we can print that out. The old way of doing that would be doing something like this, console log 1, console log 2, console log, and this gets old real quick, right? If I wanted to do it this way, maybe there's a faster way to do this. And just think, if the number was 100 or even 1,000,000, if I wanted to console log that print the numbers 1 through 5, that's fine like this. But once I get to more than 5, it really gets old. So why don't I make a loop that does this much easier? All right. Now, also, I want to draw your attention down here. Everything that we do is going to be popping up in the console. And also, very important, make sure that when you're doing this, you set your auto refresh to no. You can get these things called infinite loops if you don't, and they will go on forever and ever. So just please make sure that you are not refreshing your code after every keystroke. You have to be auto refresh no. All right, so let's make our first for loop. We're going to make a loop that prints the numbers 1 through 5. So we're going to say for I is equal to 0, I is less than or equal to 5, and we're going to say I plus plus. And then here we go, we're going to say console.log I. Now, when I press play, let's see, notice once again, I get the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It worked. Much easier than the other way of doing it, like printing it manually, console log 1, console log 2, right? Too much. So how does this for loop work? Oh, did it print out 0 too? Nope. I should have put 1 here. Let's do that one more time. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, how did this work? Now, the first number here, where I equals to 1, that is where you want to start counting from. So I'm going to start my counter at 1, okay? Then the second one is basically where do I want to end? I want to end at 5. And this, if you really want to know what this is saying, it's saying keep doing this loop as long as I is less than or equal to 5. Once you exceed 5, or this is no longer true, stop doing the loop. And the next part is how much do you want to increase by? This has it increasing by 1 each time. This is the same as saying I equals I plus 1. But the short way of saying it is just I plus plus, okay? And that's why when I press play, 1 through 5 pops up here. And that's really the most basics of this. Now, let's just make this an interactive video for a second. Based on what I said, this is the start value, this is the end value, and this means go up by 1. Do you think you could do the second one by yourself? I would say pause the video, see if you could do it, and then press play and see if you got it right. All right, I'll just give you a second. Nope, just one more second. Yep. Okay, hopefully you paused it. And now you've come back, and let's do it together. All right, so we're going to make a loop here that prints the numbers 5 through 10. So once again, I'm going to say this, for I, and since this starts at 5, I'm just going to say I equals 5. That's where we're going to start counting from. And then I'm going to say I is less than or equal to 10. So stop counting at 10. And then we're going to once again go up by 1. And here we go. We're going to say console.log I. Now let's press play. Check it out. 1 through 5 gets logged out over here. And then we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to console these out so we don't have to look at the old ones. So see here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It starts at 5, keeps running till it gets to 10. Right? As long as I is less than or equal to 10, it'll keep running, and it goes up by 1. All right, let's get this one out, too. I'm going to comment that out now. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're going to make a loop that adds the numbers 1 through 10. Now, this is a little bit harder, but not crazy. Now, we know we could do this. For I equals 1, right? I want to add all the numbers 1 through 10, so I do need a loop that gets me those numbers. So I equals to 10, I plus plus, right? And for here, this is where things get a little bit different, right? How do I add all these numbers? Well, basically, I want to accumulate them, right? Every time, it's like each time I want to keep adding to something. So the best way to do this is to make a variable, and we'll call this the sum, okay? And let's set the sum to start at 0, right? We have nothing there. Now, for each time that we run this loop, what we want to do is add whatever I is to that number. So I'm going to say sum is equal to sum plus I. And what that is saying is take the sum, right, and set equal to itself plus whatever I is. So let's see if this works. And if I press play, oh, I forgot to console log it. over here at the very end afterwards, I'm going to console log sum. Let's see if this worked. 55. Now, let's see this in action because I think that's right. In fact, I'm sure it's right. Let me show you how this is working. Let's console log sum after each one. All right? So maybe this makes a little bit more sense. Or I'll console log I, and then I'll console log sub. So let's see if I can show this to you. So the first number is 1, and that means the sum is 1 because it's 0 equals 0 plus 1, which gives us 1. So the I is 1 and the sum is 1. All right? The next number is 2. So we get 2 over here, right? 1 equals 1 plus 2, and that gives us 3. So that's our new sum, right? All right, the next I is 3, right? We're on 3 of the counters. That's how you get this. And 3 equals 3 plus, and the I is 3, 6. So anyway, it keeps accumulating over and over again until finally you get to the final sum of 55, and you can check my math there, add it together. You will see that that is correct. So that's how you just add, or you need a variable, right, that you started off at 0, and you just keep adding to that number until you get to the end. All right, let's get this out of there. Last two. Okay, we're going to make a loop that prints out only even numbers. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. The first way is like this. I'm going to say for I, between 1 and 100. Well, let's say between 1 to 100. All right, yeah, we should say that. Not all the even numbers in the world, from 1 to 100. So let's start at 0, okay? And then I'm going to add, we'll start at 1. Okay, I'm going to say I equals, or is less than or equal to 100. So we're going to keep going to 100, and we're going to add by 1 each time. All right, and then I'll console.log I. Now, let's just see this in action. So you see this one, how it adds, this gives you all the numbers 1 through 100. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. I'll show you an easy way and a hard way, but the hard way is kind of interesting to learn about. Let's start with the easy way. The easy way to do it is to actually start this at 0, and we're just going to increment by 2 each time. So what I'll do is I equals I plus 2, right? And so basically it'll start at 0, and then each time it'll increment by 2, and that should get me to the right thing. So let's try this out. If you look, if I do this one, right, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, notice that instead of going up by 1, like we did in the previous examples, I can go up by 2, and that gives me all the even numbers, right, starting from 0, going up to 100. Now, I would say the next way I'll show you is not as easy as this way, but it's very important. It's a very important concept to learn. It's called mods, or modulo. A mod is actually a remainder, all right? So let me just take this out for 1 second, just so you can see something. Let's console log this, all right? Console.log 5 mod, and it used the percent size 3. And what this does, this means, just tell me the remainder. Modulo means what is the remainder when 5 is divided by 3. There are a lot of times where you just need the remainder. And so what we should get is, what's the remainder when 5 is divided by 3? Hopefully, you know it's 2, right? So you see there, it's 2, right? This gives you the remainder. So another way to do this is to console log all numbers that have a remainder of 0 when they're divided by 2, right? All even numbers are divisible by 2. They don't have a remainder. So a fun way to do this would be to we would say this. If I modulo 2 is equal to 0, so right, if the number I, when modulo 2 is 0, so when it's divided by 2, the remainder is 0, only then will I console.log. So you see how I'm putting a if statement inside of my for loop, and I'll say this. So check this out. This is the more fancy way of doing this. And you see here, this also works, right? 0, 2, 4. And this is just saying if the remainder, when the number is divided by 2, the remainder is 0, well, then we'll console log it out, right? And that's how you know something's even. If when you divide it by 2, the remainder is 0. All right, we're up to our last one. This is another fun one. Keep this in mind for the last one. We're going to make a loop that replaces every multiple of 5 with the word boom from 1 to 100. All right, so check it out. We're going to say this. If for I equals 0, we've done this a bunch now, I is less than or equal to 100, right? We'll say I plus equals, plus 1. All right? Now, sorry, I plus plus. Now for this one, we can't just do that like plus equals 5. So we can't do this, I equals I plus 5, right? Because, I'll show you in a second, let's console log it out. If you think this would work, you'd be wrong, because if you look here, this is not doing what we said. We want to make a loop that replaces every multiple of 5 with the word boom. So this is just printing out every multiple of 5. What I want for this one is that it actually lists out the numbers 1 through 100, but every time the number is a multiple of 5, that number is replaced with the word boom in the list. So we do have to go up by 1 here. All right. Now, how do we do this? Well, if a number is multiple of 5, once again, that means that if that number is divided by 5, the remainder is 0. So we could use this concept again. And so what we'll say is this. We are going to say this. If, all right, I modulo 5 is equal to 0, meaning there's no remainder, we are going to just console.log the word boom. Else, we will just console log the number itself, I. So what this is saying, remember, if the number is divisible by 5, we'll say the word boom. If any other number, we'll just give us the number. All right, ready? Let's try it out. Let's see if that worked. I guess 0 is divided by 5, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. 6, 7, 8, 9, boom. 11, 12, 13, 14, boom. 16, 17, 18, 19, boom. And you'll see that this is working. Every 5 it says boom. So modulos, they're a great little operator. You'll see those actually on the AP CSP exam. They also really help with loops. They do a lot of fun things. All right, that is it for this lesson. Good luck on your lab.